Hi, good evening, all of you. So, hope you are able to hear me, right? Okay, great. So, very good evening. Let's start. So, today, as I told you people, I'll be starting with web application development. Hi, Rama, good evening. So,
Hi, sir.
yeah, hi, good evening. So, first of all, before we start with this web application development, let's try to understand what are web applications and the key elements of web applications. What are the key elements of web applications? That is what we'll see. So, a web application is accessible over the web or internet. Now, the web applications are accessible over the web or internet. So, web applications provide various services. Say, for example, online shopping, banking, mailing services, online bookings, sorry, online bookings, and blah blah blah. So, these are the most common services which we use in our day-to-day life, right? Yeah. Hi, people. Good evening. So, we're just starting with the introduction to this web applications. So, now you will find that web applications can be accessed from anywhere, from any remote machine, provided if you got a computer connected to a machine. Sorry, computer connected to a network. Yes, that are the minimum requirements. Yeah, hi Krish. We are just starting web applications. So now there are some key elements which we need to know before we start developing the web applications. What are those key elements of web applications? So that is what I'm going to talk about here. Okay. Yes. Key elements in the web applications. So what are the key elements of the web application? First of all, I can say a web server. So far, you see, the Java applications which we have developed, we hosted them on the JVM, I can say. So we're just running them on the JVM. The Java applications, we were running them on top of JVM. That's it. JVM provided the platform for the applications. But when we talk about web applications, we need a special environment to run this web applications. Okay. So this is where your web server comes into the picture. Okay. Yes. Web server provides the platform for the web applications to execute. Web server provides the platform for the web applications to execute, I can say. Yes. So here, from now on, what we'll do is we'll be developing applications, web applications, and host or I can say deploy them on the web server. So examples of web servers, a list of web servers here: Tomcat, WebLogic, WebSphere. There are a few application servers. Only first one is pure web server. Others are application servers actually. Yes. Here we have JBoss. These are web servers. Tomcat is web server. The other three servers are application servers. Application servers, they are web servers, not only web servers, but also they provide the complete environment or support for running any type of enterprise application, I can say. Yes. So, just a minute, please. Yes. Here, the next thing is we need a browser or a web client. You see, The web browser or web client, it plays an important role. How do we access web applications? You see, always we use a browser, right? It's not possible to access web applications without a browser. Definitely, you will need a browser first. Yes. Web browser acts as a mediator between the end users and the web application segment. Places a request on behalf of the users for a resource or service on the server. Once the server sends a response, the browser renders this response to the end users. Okay. The browser will render this response to the end users, I can say. Yes. So actually, I can say that web applications are based on client-server architecture. Web applications are based on client-server architecture. Yes. So you'll find that you'll have a client and a server. These are the main important things here. You see, so web applications are based on client-server architecture. Yes. When I say client-server architecture, what does that means? Yes. Web applications are based on client-server architecture. So client-server architecture means
All the necessary information will be in the server, and the client request for the information whenever it wants. Based on the request, the server provides information to the client.
okay. Still, anyone wants to respond? Got one answer. Okay, let's see. You see, web applications, as I told you people, they are based on client-server architecture. So here you see, client-server architecture is a network architecture in which each computer in the network is either a client or server. When I say network architecture, that means you got set of machines connected. Network means set of machines connected to each other. You know that, right? Yeah. So there can be heterogeneous machines connected to each other in this network architecture. It's set of machines connected. So here in this client server architecture, you'll find that we can broadly classify the computers or machines into two types, clients and servers. Every computer here is either a client or a server, I can say. Yes. You know what? Here, servers are powerful computers or processors dedicated to provide some services or data or resources, managing disk drives, file servers, I can say examples. Yes, servers they always provide resources or services, or they provide some sort of service, I can say. Yes, they are dedicated, so to serve to serve the clients, I can say. Yes, servers can provide data. You see, for example, you take Google. So Google search engine provides a lot of data, right? You can search for the data in Google. So that is one of the servers, I can say. Yes. Similarly, you see, they can provide resources also. Um, for example, you'll find that here we can use a navigation system, maps. Nowadays, you see, Google Maps and all, they are resources for us. And you'll find that here they provide some services. For example, mailing services, mail. We use mailing services, right? So Gmail server, it provides mailing services. So similarly, you see, the servers can also provide some disk space, disk drives. Your Google Drive is an example, file sharing server, right? So it provides some disk drive space which we can make use of actually. Yes. Here, these are the servers dedicated to provide some support for the clients. What are clients? Clients are personal computers or they can be devices nowadays like mobile phones, you know iPads, what else your tablets, mobiles, tablets, laptops, personal computers, whatever it is. So these are different types of clients which you got here. Okay. So basically, these clients On the client's machine, you'll have some software which will be running, you know, uh, which will avail the services, which helps us to avail the services provided by the server. Okay, not only server, but whatever the resources we have on the server. You may have some files also on the server, right? So some data or even processing powers. Yes. So whatever it is. So whatever the services provided by the server, they can be availed through the clients. Yeah. So this way, in the network architecture, in this client server architecture, we can broadly classify the machines into two types. Okay, servers which provide some services. Okay, they can be any type of service, data. They can share the data, resources, see, or disk space. These are all various types of resources and services. I can say they can be processing also, like mails. So, or I can say that here they can just plainly share disk drives as well. Yes. Okay. So now in this client server architecture, you'll find that the ratio between the clients and servers will be servers and clients will be 1 is to n. One server can process n number of clients requests. Okay. One server, a single server, can concurrently take a n number of clients requests and they can process them. And you see this server, it can be accessed from any client from any machine, provided you have web or internet. I'm talking about web applications particularly. Yes, you can access them from anywhere, from any place. The servers can be accessed from anywhere. You can avail the services provided by the server by connecting from any machine, any client. It can be any client, okay, from anywhere. Yes, there is no such restriction here. Yes. So this is your client server architecture, I can say. Okay. Yes. Now, what is next thing which you got here? You see, now we know about servers and clients. Next, in web applications, you'll hear this term a lot. Hypertext transfer protocol. Hypertext transfer protocol. So this is also one of the key elements in the web applications, I can say. Yes. So here, what is this HTTP? Yes. So what is HTTP?
It's a network protocol to communicate between the client and server.
Yes. So basically, it is a protocol. HTTP, I can say that it is a protocol mainly used, it's a communication protocol mainly used by the client and server to communicate with each other, to interact with each other, I can say. Yes. Here, HTTP is a communication protocol. Yes. Used by the client and server to interact with each other. The client places an HTTP request and the client constructs a HTTP request in order to place a request for a resource, service, or data. Similarly, the server responds to sends the response back to the clients by constructing HTTP response. You can say that HTTP request and the HTTP response are standard formats defined in the HTTP protocol. The standard formats defined in the HTTP protocol. Yes. So, yes, always a client and server, they follow this format to interact with each other. Yes. They follow this HTTP protocol, I can say basically. They implement this HTTP protocol. Yes. It's just a protocol. That means set of rules and regulations. And they will follow this set of rules and regulations to communicate with each other, to interact with each other, I can say. Okay. Yes. So why HTTP is needed here? What do people think? Okay, it is used for communication, but why we need a protocol altogether for the clients and servers? What is the need for this protocol? You see, I can say that here this protocol, it standardizes the way the clients and servers communicate with each other. This protocol basically, it standardizes the way the clients and servers communicate with each other. Yes. So you see, when we talk about web or internet, here web in the web, you see, you got heterogeneous clients and heterogeneous servers. We got heterogeneous clients and heterogeneous servers. You see, for example, let's take this small case. So we all use Gmail server, right? Yes. So Gmail is a web application which is hosted on the Gmail server. So we all use this, we all try to access the Gmail. So what we do basically, first of all, will in order to access this Gmail, we'll log in from the browsers. You see, I use Chrome, I use web browser, that is Chrome, to connect to this Gmail server. And you see here, this web browser, this Chrome, it is actually running on Windows platform. It is running on Windows platform. Okay. So similarly, you might be using a different browser. You might be using Firefox, Opera, or some other browser. You might be using some other browser, right? Yes. And your browser, it might be running on a different platform. You might be using Mac, Unix, whatever it is, right? So this way, you see, in the web or internet, you have millions of machines, right? And different users will be using different types of clients, and they're running on different platforms, heterogeneous platforms, heterogeneous clients, I can say basically here. They try to connect to servers. The servers also are heterogeneous, different types of servers. One server can be Tomcat, another can be WebLogic, or another can be IIS server, which is used by Microsoft .NET people. So there can be different types of servers. We have different types of clients and different types of servers here. Yes. You know, this is like different people who know different languages. They speak different languages, let's say. Different people, they speak different languages and they want to communicate with each other. Let's say they want to communicate with each other. If they want to communicate with each other, they need a common language for communication. Even we have heterogeneous clients, okay, different clients and heterogeneous servers, different servers. They want to communicate with each other. They want to interact with each other. How can how they can communicate with each other? So this is where HTTP protocol comes into the picture. So you know, HTTP standardizes the way the clients and servers communicate with each other. I can say. You see, now it doesn't matter it is which client, whether it is whether it is Chrome or Internet Explorer, or whether it is Firefox, whatever it is, any client, in order to place the request on the server, you see, simply they construct this HTTP request. They will construct HTTP request. And all the clients will follow the same HTTP request format. All the clients will follow the same HTTP request format, I can say. So similarly, even the servers also, you may have heterogeneous servers, different types of servers. It doesn't matter it is which server. All the servers follow the same HTTP response format when sending the response back to the client. To send the response back to the client, they will construct a HTTP response. There is a standard response format which they use to construct the response, and they'll send the response back to the client. So this way, always the clients and servers, you see, they implement this protocol. I can say they follow this protocol to communicate with each other. Yes, the way we use English. You see, in English again, we have to follow grammar. And so you see, English is something conceptual, right? It's not physically existing. So we just follow it. Yes, we learn it, we follow it. Similarly, the servers also they implement this protocol. So these are just set of rules and regulations like grammar. For English, we have grammar. Similarly, here also, you see, for machines, you can think of this HTTP as a language, which they can use to communicate with each other. They follow this protocol, the rules defined in this protocol to communicate with each other, I can say. Yes. So I hope you people got it. Yes. So is it clear? Anyone got any questions in this regard? Please let me know. Okay, so last point I'll add it here. HTTP protocol standardizes the way the client and server standardizes the client and server communication, I can say in short. But if you know how it does that. Next, when we talk about web applications, you have HTML, CSS. Even they play a key role. So why do we use this HTML and CSS?
Presentation purpose.
Presentation. Okay. So we develop something using this HTML and CSS, right? How will you present it? We create web pages using HTML and CSS, right? So we actually create web pages using HTML and CSS. You know, HTML and CSS are used to create web pages. So you see, I can say that web pages or from I can say that you see from the end user's perspective, if you think about this web application, this is the only part of the application the end users can see. Okay, web pages are the only part of the application end users can see or viewer can say. Yes, right? Through the web pages, end users communicate with the sorry, interact with the web application. I can say yes. Through the web pages, end users will interact with the web application. Yeah. So HTML and CSS basically both are used in combination to create web pages. You see, HTML is actually considered as a markup language. So using HTML, you can present the data, right? You can create a user interface. I can say, okay. So in other words, we say user interface because yes, this web page provides an interface for the end users to communicate with the application, right? User interface. Yeah. So you have UI components in the web page like text field, hyperlinks, radio buttons, checkboxes, forms, drop downs, lot of things are there. Yes, which helps the user to communicate with the web applications. Yes, or interact with the web applications, I should say. Okay, fine. You know, HTML we can only use HTML to present the data. That's it. At most, we can present the data. Manipulating the data or processing the data is not possible using HTML. You should just remember this point. The next we have JavaScript. You can say jQuery, AngularJS, Angular, whatever it is, but they are all derived from JavaScript itself. Yes. Okay. So why do we need JavaScript here? What is the role played by the JavaScript here in this web applications? You can say this is also one of the key elements.
To add dynamic content to the web pages, HTML is just a static content. We can create just a static content using this HTML and CSS, while JavaScript adds dynamic content.
Okay. So it adds dynamic content. Okay.
And also, we can perform client-side validations using this JavaScript.
Okay. We can also handle client-side validations using JavaScript. Yeah. So basically, I can say that JavaScript is used to create dynamic web pages. JavaScript is actually a client-side scripting language. JavaScript is actually a client-side scripting language. JavaScript is used to create dynamic web pages. Here, I can also say that it is used to create interactive pages. You know, dynamic web page means I can say that here a web page which can whose content can change dynamically when user interacts with it. We say they are interactive web pages also. Okay. Yes. Here, when I say user, you see the content of the page will change or load dynamically based on the user interaction. Yes. So, here using JavaScript, we can make a web page respond to the user's actions. Okay. We can make a web page interact with the, respond to the user's actions here. We can make a web page respond to the user's actions. Yes. So that is possible using JavaScript. Here, JavaScript, it is also used for client-side validations. Okay, it is used for client-side validations. JavaScript is actually used for client-side validations, I can say. So when I say client-side validations, what does that mean? Yes. So client-side validations means before, generally users will be providing some input data through the forms, through the user interface, I can say, through the forms. So before the client sends this data to the server, you can validate this data provided by the users on the client side in the browser itself. Okay, so to make sure that only valid information is sent to the server without wasting time and efforts here. If it is a invalid data, and the client, if it tries to construct a request and send it to the server, it's waste of time and resources, right? So before a request is constructed and sent to the server, here the client can validate this input data. So we can write the JavaScript code to validate that input data, and we see if it is valid data, then only we can send it to the server. Otherwise, the client can simply uh, ignore this request or ask the users to provide valid information. Okay, yes, we can avoid a request being sent to the server because server cannot process a request with some invalid data. It is not possible, right? Server needs relevant information, valid information to process the request, I can say. Yes. Okay. So this is about JavaScript. And what else you'll have here in the web application development? What do you people think? Yeah. So we have discussed about a server, a client, and what else? We did discuss about HTTP, HTML, JavaScript. The client places a request on the server. Server can respond back to the client. So these are all the things. Okay, you're all fine. But who will respond to this client's request. Who will process the client's request? Okay, on the server side, the request will be processed. So processing the request is done on the server side. Okay, who will process the client's request?
Application
Servlets.
server.
Okay, the server. You see, server in the sense, you see, it is more generic when I say server. So to process the application specific requests, you need something on the server side. So this is where your server-side scripting languages comes into the picture. Like we have Java. Java is a server-side scripting language, I can say. Yeah, of course, Java is a programming language, but we can say Java is a server-side scripting language, which is used on the server side for processing the client's requests, right? So Java provides APIs like Servlet and JSP APIs, which you got here to process the client's request. We have Spring MVC, which we can make use of. Okay, yeah, and we have JSF, struts too, and so on. But the thing is here, we'll be working with servlets and JSPs, that too not in depth. So I'll brief you people on this because we are not using them nowadays. We don't use servlets and JSPs, plain servlets and JSPs. We use frameworks. Rather, we use frameworks a lot, which are built on top of the servlets and JSPs. So we have the basic knowledge that should be enough. So rather, we'll concentrate on frameworks a lot. Yes. So we'll use Spring MVC a lot. And JSF and struts also, nowadays they use rarely. Instead, we'll do one thing. So I'll be concentrating because JSF mainly it concentrates on UI a lot, user interface. Nowadays, the way the user interface is developed is changed drastically. So we use jQuery UI, or we use Angular in the front end side. So almost this JSF and struts two frameworks, you'll find that now it's a rare option in the development. People are not using them much. Okay. Yes. So rather than that, we'll be concentrating on more advanced technologies. That's the reason why I've introduced this thing for people, Angular, jQuery, and jQuery UI here in the training. Yeah. So that's the reason why you'll be learning servlets and JSPs, basic fundas, and then Spring MVC in depth. Yeah, that is what we'll be doing. So to handle front end, we use front end technologies itself, which you got the jQuery, Angular, and all. Okay. So on the server side, we use a server side programming language like Java. If I have time, I'll also try to give you people at least a brief introduction to Node.js also. Node.js is also one of the server-side programming language. Okay, like Java, it's a server-side scripting language. But Node.js is pure JavaScript. Okay, yes, Node.js is pure JavaScript, which can be used on the server side. Okay, now these are the various key elements which are involved in the web application development, I can say. So I hope you people got it. So let me know if you have any questions. So this is the essential information which you need to know before we start working with web application development. So what you need to know that, right? Yeah. Just a minute. So, so from this discussion, you understood that we need some additional resources to work with web applications, right? So, what are they? Yes, you have. Don't you need a JVM now? Yes, of course you need a JVM because you're still dealing with Java-based web application development. On the server side, we'll be using Java itself, as I told you. Yes, okay. Yes, you need a Tomcat server. Am I right? You need a web server, I can say actually. So, from where you will acquire this web server, I'll show you. So here you can use this web server. So this web server basically it is provided by Apache Software Foundation itself. You see, this is the link. I'll paste it here. Just scroll down here, go to that web page all of you. You can download this and then you can install it on the machine. Okay, have you opened this page? Now here you will find this download options. You see, we have core. Under the core, if you're using Windows operating system, you have Windows Service Installer, which you can make use of to install this server. Yes, and if you're using some other platforms, you can go for tar.gz5. Yes, accordingly, you can just download this. So I want you people to install the Tomcat server. Here, once, okay, if someone can share the screen, that would be great. Once I'll show you people how to do that. So is there any volunteer who can share your screen so that I can show you people the installation stuff and all? Okay, okay. So I'll make you the presenter. So you don't have a Tomcat server installed on the machine, right? Okay, using Windows, fine. You can download that 32-bit, 64-bit Windows Service Installer. Others, you can just follow this. Okay, once you download it, you can just double click on the installer. Yeah, all of you can check this. Quickly, just on my instructions, just follow my instructions. Okay, yes. So click on next. Okay, you can take this license agreement, accept this license agreement. Next, you can click on next, no problem. Yeah, here you see you got some port configurations. If you people can check this, all of you. So in the port configurations, you have HTTP connector port. So make sure that you change this HTTP connector port. Okay, change the HTTP connector port. So it is 8080 by default. You have to change it. Either make it 99999 or 8888, which you can easily remember. So 8080 is a most commonly or widely used port number by many servers, so there can be a conflict later on. So you can just avoid using it. Okay, you have configured as 8888. Just remember this port number, so you'll be using it. Yeah. Next, you can click on next. Yeah. Here, you see the Tomcat server, it needs JDK definitely. Okay, Tomcat is also built on top of using Java itself, so it needs JDK. So even if we because here I said we'll be deploying or hosting your web application start using Java here on Tomcat server, but that web applications will be writing Java code, so we need JDK definitely. So it will look for that JDK, and you see on its own it will just identify the path and all. We don't have to do anything in this regard. We can click on next. Now you see this is the destination folder, so where your server will be installed. Okay, this server will be installed here in this folder application. Sorry, in the program files Apache Software Foundation Tomcat 8.5. Yeah, if you want, you can change it your wish. You can rename it, not a problem. Okay, yes, fine. So let's move on. Just a minute. You see, all of you, what you will do is generally by default you'll be clicking on finish, but here you have to see one thing. Um, you will find that uh, if you by default if you click on this here, you know what happens? Your Apache Tomcat server will be started, okay, and you won't even know that your server is started. So just make sure that you uncheck this option, okay. Just make sure that you uncheck this option here. Yes. Okay, uncheck this option and you can click on finish. By accident, if you even click on that finish straight away, so you will have the option to stop the server. So while integrating with server, you'll have some issues. Okay, don't worry. So now you can click on finish. Okay, so now you have installed the Tomcat server, I can say. Okay, you have actually installed your Tomcat server. Now the next thing is, where is your server? Let's check this once. Go to the program files. In the program files, you have Apache Software Foundation. Open it. Here is your Tomcat installation folder. You can open it. here, these are the server files, I can say. You have web apps folder here if you can check this. Okay, you have web apps folder if you can check this. See, this web apps folder is the main folder where your applications will be hosted. Okay, you can check that folder. Your applications are actually hosted in this web app folder itself. Yeah, so just remember this. Now you open Eclipse. So we'll try to integrate this Eclipse ID with the Tomcat server. Okay, let's try to do that. So why we have to integrate Eclipse and Tomcat server? Because you see, you'll be developing applications using Eclipse ID, and you have to host them on the server, right? On the Tomcat server. So if you can integrate Tomcat server with Eclipse ID, you'll be able to easily host the applications from the Eclipse ID on the Tomcat server. Okay, so you can manage the Tomcat server from here itself from the Eclipse ID. You can start the server, you can stop the server, you can do all such things. Yeah. Okay. So now first of all, go to that open Java E perspective here. Java EE. So Java EE perspective. You go to the window. Under the window, the perspective option is there. Under the perspective, you should see open perspective. I hope all of you making a note of it. Go to others. You have Java EE. So this is the perspective which I'm talking about. Java EE. Okay. So click on open. Okay. You see, once you select the Java EE perspective, some views have changed here. So down you should see servers tab. Servers tab will be there. Yeah. Now it says no server are available. Click this link to create a new one. It says no servers are integrated here. So you want to integrate it, that you can click on it. That's it. Okay. Now you see you have Apache on top. The first one you expanded. Yeah, here no, not under Apache. Just scroll down. Okay. Let's see. Let's just scroll down. Yeah, yeah. Here it is. So scroll down till you see that 8.5. Yeah, 8.5. Tomcat 8.5 server is there. No, select that one. You can click on next. Vasant, you're using which platform? Is it Mac? I guess you're using Mac. Okay. Next, you have Tomcat installation directory. Click on browse. You have to set that path. Apache Software Foundation. In that you have Tomcat 8.5 folder. You have to set. You select that folder. That's it. And click on OK. So you can click on finish. So now you see the server is integrated here. Um, you can stop the server, start the server from here itself. Do one thing. Just double click on the server tab on top. Server tab is there now. Yeah, double click on it. Now you double click on the server now. Tomcat 8.5 server. Okay. Now what you'll do here, on top you have this window which you got. You have three radio buttons. You select the middle one. Use Tomcat installation. Select the middle one. Now you can scroll down a little bit. You should see deploy path. Deploy path. Uh, Deploy path. Yeah. So the deploy path should be referring to the web apps folder which we saw. As I told you people, in the deploy path, it's in the web apps folder. Your application should be hosted. In the Tomcats installation folder, you should see that web apps folder. Yeah. Click on browse and go to that folder. Good. Yeah. Okay. So save these configurations. On the left side, you see you have that floppy drive symbol. See, you know that on top. Click fine on top. under the edit, in the menu bar, under the edit. Yeah, that is save. That's it. So now you're ready with all the setup needed to work with web applications. Okay, yeah. Others also can follow the same thing. Vasant, let me just get you some document for configuring the Tomcat server, installing it on Mac OS. Okay, I'll give you the details. Just don't just do one thing. Do me a favor. Just drop me a mail requesting for this. Okay, fine. Now here we'll start with the coding part. So before we start, we'll do something. Just we'll take 5 minutes break. Okay, just a 5 minutes break. I'll be quickly. I'll be back in 5 minutes. You also take a break of 5 minutes. So after the break, we'll continue for another 1 hour 20 minutes. Okay? Yeah. So we'll be having the class for another 1 hour 20 minutes. 5 minutes break. Okay, I'm back. Yes. So hope you are able to hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Now let me talk about the web application structure. For web applications, you'll find that there will be a structure, and especially talking about Java-based web applications. This is I'll show you the structure. So here, let's assume that you have a web application called as sample web app. Okay, you have a web application called as sample web app. So see, for that web application, you'll have a folder. In that web application folder, you'll have webin folder. Webin. In caps, you'll find it. The same with the names. Webin. It's a standard name generally. Webin stands for web information. Okay, web information. Webin stands for web information, I can say. So here, in the webin folder, you'll have classes. The classes folder, you'll find that you'll have all the dot class files, all the dot class files, which we develop as part of this web application. Okay, you'll find that here it's a Java-based application. So yes, we'll be writing Java classes and all. So the bytecode related to the Java classes, definitely. You'll have that dot class files in this classes folder. Yes. Next, you have lib folder here. You see in the lib folder, you have all the libraries, third-party libraries, which we use, which we need in the web application development. They can be drivers, or they can be libraries, frameworks, the libraries related to the framework can be anything. Yes. Next, you have web.xml file. Nowadays, we don't use this web.xml file a lot, but still, you may come across such applications where you have this web.xml file. So basically, it is used to configure the servlet. It's called as deployment descriptor also. In order to configure the servlet, basically, it can be used here. Yes. Next, see, when we talk about web applications, you'll have HTML files, you may have JSPs if it is a web-based application. Nowadays, these JSPs also will be are almost extinct. You don't use JSPs much. And you'll have other files like CSS, JavaScript files and all. Okay, so these are all the things that you'll find here in the main folder, application folder. Okay, so this is how your web application structure looks like. Now let's do one thing. So let's try to create this web application. Okay. Okay. So first of all, make sure that you open Java E perspective here. You work with this web application also. The next thing is here. I've make sure that you have integrated Tomcat server. So this is a new workspace I didn't do. I mean, so far I didn't work with web applications in this workspace. So I will quickly integrate it. Okay. Done. So let's create a web project here. Okay. So for that, first of all, I'll go to this file, new, dynamic web project option. Okay. File new, dynamic web project option. Select this one. Once again, I'll show you under the file. You should see new. Have you noticed it? So the options have changed here. The wizards have changed. So because we're using Java E perspective, the wizards have changed. Okay. Yes. So I'll select this dynamic web project option, dynamic web project, and I'll name it as sample web project. That's it. Next, see target runtime. That means where exactly you want to run this application. As I told you people, it's a web application. You have to host it on the server. Okay, it's a web application. It has to be hosted on the server. Okay, Apache Tomcat 8.0. Just now I've integrated it. You will find 8.5. So whatever server you have integrated, the list of servers will be shown here. In fact, you can integrate multiple servers, different types of servers, not only Apache Tomcat, we have WebLogic, Oracle WebLogic, WebSphere, JBoss, you know, there are many other servers, Cloud Foundry servers are there. So it will show you the list of servers which you can use to host or deploy this web application. Okay. Next, the dynamic web module version refers to the servlet API version, I can say. Okay. It refers to the servlet API version. Yes. I mean, as I told you people, Java provides servlet and JSP APIs to develop web applications. We have Spring MVC also, but now we are looking at Spring servlet and JSP APIs first. Okay. And I told you people, I won't dig into much details of the servlets and JSP, but yes, I'll give you an idea of servlets and JSP. The backend later on will be using Spring MVC. Okay. So the dynamic web module version is 3.1. There is servlet API version, I can say, and you can click on next. You can click on next here. This is just source and classes folder configuration. You can take it as is. Click on next. Now here you see it is asking you whether to generate web.xml file. Let me show you people once how it looks like. I'll take this option web.xml file. I'll click on finish. That's it. Okay. Now the project is created. Let's have a look at this project now. It looks little different. So you have web content folder. Under that you have webin, lib folder, web.xml file. What about classes folder? We saw classes folder under the webin, right? Don't worry. So when this application is deployed on the server, the classes folder will be added. Okay. Yeah. So you'll see that complete structure which you saw. So it creates the structure and deploys it on the server. So who the Eclipse ID itself. So Eclipse ID will help us in this regard. Okay. Just a second, please. So now the next thing here, I'll do one thing. I'll create a web page, a HTML page. A web page, I can say. In that web page, I'll add registration form. Okay, in that page, I'll add registration form. So generally, you'll see registration forms, right? Yeah. Even here, we can create such registration form to accept the users personal details for registration purpose. Okay, so we'll add what details will read here. Let's say first name, last name, city, state, and so on. Email, gender. So these are the details which I would like to take here as part of this registration here. Yes. You know, here to take these details, we have to create a form. Okay, to read these details, we need to create a form here. So let's do this. First, create a web page. So where you will create the web page here, you see under the web content folder, you can add it. Okay, make sure that here add this under the web content folder. Yes. So select this web content folder, right click on it, and you got new HTML file option here. You got new HTML file option. Select this option, HTML file. It's a wizard, I can say. Select this HTML file wizard and give a name, register.html. Give a name as register.html here. Click on next to finish. So you got a basic template to create this HTML file. So HTML. So now we need to create a form. See, this is your HTML code which you can see. So to create HTML page, so the root element here is HTML element. Under that you'll have head element. Under the head generally you'll have the title for the page. So I'll give the title as register form or registration or register page. And then whatever the content you add to this body, so will be displayed in the HTML page. Now first of all, I would like to add a header for this page. So to add a header, we'll use this h2 tag, align equal to center. You see that header, I would like to align it to the center, and the content of the header, I want it to be register form. Yes. Next, we need to create a form here. Okay. So how will you create a form? Actually, to create a form and to align the form fields properly, first I will take the help of a table. Okay, I will take the help of a table. So because table helps us to create a grid layout, and we can arrange the elements in the grid accordingly. We can arrange the elements in the grid accordingly. Yes. So you can create a grid something like this. See, I can create a grid this way with rows and columns. So in each row, I'll have two cells. First cell, I'll use it for label name. Let's say for first name, this is the label, and I'll add a text field so that users can type in that first name. So this is what I want to do here. Similarly for last name, city, everything, I want to just add a label in the first cell, and in the second cell, we'll add that HTML component to read that input, okay, through this text fields, whatever it is, form controls, I can say actually. The text fields, radio buttons, checkboxes, drop downs, we call them as form controls or input fields. Okay, yeah. How to create this grid with the help of table, we'll do that. So first of all, we'll create a form. To create a HTML form, we have to use this form tag. Use this form tag. Okay, and then in this form, we'll create a grid using the table tag. So in the table, we need to add rows. To add a row, use this tr tag. To add a row, use this tr tag. Okay, yeah. Just a second, please. Just okay. Sorry, back. So here, you see, we have added a row, and in this row, we'll add two cells using TD. A cell using TD. In the first cell, I'll add that label using label first name, and I'll add one more cell to this row within this tr tag. You see, I'll do this. I'll add an input field. Input type equal to text. I'll give a name to this text field. What is it? First name. Okay. So this input tag, we're using it to create a text field. Input. You see, you'll have a type attribute where you'll specify the type as text here. Specify the type as text. Yes. Okay. So now what happens? A row is created with two cells. The first cell contains the label, and the second cell contains that input field here. That's it. Now let's add one more row here for last name. You can just copy the same code. Almost it will be similar. The label name, you'll change it from first name to last name. That, and you see that input text field name, you make it last name. That's it. Now we have added another row with 2 cells in it. Next, what else you got here? See, you got email. Let's take email address here. Yes. For, for first I'll add it for gender. Okay. Let's add it for gender here. So when we talk about gender, for gender, so what we'll do is we'll use radio buttons, right? Yeah. So what I will do is here, I will add another row for gender. Here, first label, only label, we'll have only label here. And next, I'll create another row. In the second row, I'll add a cell, and in the cell, I'll do this. You see, female, I'll add a label. This way, we can use this label tag for that purpose. Label, sorry, yeah. And now I'll add a radio button to this. Okay, yes. To create a radio button, again you'll use input tag itself, but the type you have to specify it as radio. That's it. And name, I'll call it as gender here. That's it. And then you see, similarly, we'll add one more cell, male. You see, make sure that you give the same name for the second cell also. For both the radio buttons, you should have the same name, so that you see, your browser will understand that these two radio buttons are same. Okay. Yes, these two radio buttons are same actually. So users should be able to select one of the radio buttons, not both. If you give different names, users will end up selecting both the radio buttons here. Yes, radio button means mm, I'll show you just a second. So you might have used it lot of times. Sorry. Yeah, here you have it. You see, male, female, other. This is a radio button. Okay. Hope you got it. So now here also we'll get a similar thing here. Male, female will have two radio buttons in our form. And you see, when user selects a particular radio button, what value you want to send to the server. See, for female, user clicks on female radio button, so the value should be sent as female. And for male, the value will configure it as male. That's it. Yes. Next, here we have city. So city also, I'll create a text field. Actually, we have to create a drop down, or we have far more advanced options. I'll make you people work on this. Okay. Yes. State. Okay, now you can check this. So these are the various fields here which you got. So I'll open it in the browser. I'll show you once. Okay, but female and male. So we have a distance here, right? Don't worry. So what we'll do is here within the same cell, we'll configure it. Okay, so that we can reduce this difference distance. Yeah. Okay. So for gender, we'll do. So now you can check this one. Next, we have city and state. So what else is needed here apart from this? One thing is missing here. What is it?
Email.
Email answer. Okay, fine. So we'll add an email field, and then at last we need to add a submit button. Okay, add a submit button. Email and submit button. Let's add them. See label, email, and then at last we'll add a submit button here. Input type equal to submit, value equal to register. That's Now we have how many rows here? Can you please tell me? So we got 8 rows, huh? Okay, good. So now just check this code and let me know if you have any questions in this regard. Go through this code and just give me 1 minute. Just a minute. Yeah, sorry. So now we got this form here. Okay. Yes. Now where is this form? Okay. As of now, it is part of this application. Um, Here, let's do one thing. I will deploy this application on the server. Let's deploy this application on the server. So I'll select this project. How will you deploy it? Select this project, right click on it. You have this option, run as, run on server. Click on this run on server option, click on finish. You see, when we do this, the Eclipse IDE will create that web application structure appropriately, and it will also start the server. Have you noticed it? I didn't start the server. So Eclipse IDE will take care of starting the server also if it is not started. Okay, so it will make sure that it starts the server also. IDE itself will host your application on the server. Yes. So oh, it is taking more time. I guess I have a lot of applications on the server. Let me just delete some server applications. I've changed the server configurations. Why it is showing this? Just a minute, please. No, deploy path I just configured this. So that's okay. Change it to web apps. So now deployed. You won't have these issues. Don't worry. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So now what we did is I'll tell you. Here we have deployed our application on the Tomcat server. You know that. So I didn't copy any files here to the server. I'll show you. You see, you go to this web apps folder. In the web apps folder, you should see your application. So who deployed this application on the server? Who did this? I mean, Eclipse. Yeah, Eclipse is doing this for us. Okay. So it created this project structure and everything here. Yes. And you see, you got this register.html file. You have web app, webin folder, classes folder. These are all empty now. There's nothing here. You see, these are all blank. So this application is hosted on the server, on the Tomcat server. Okay. Yes. So now let me just show you people an image so that you will easily understand. On the server, on the Tomcat server, you see this is your web server, Tomcat, and it is listening on the port 9999. My Tomcat server is listening on the port 9999. And in this Tomcat server here, now we have hosted an application. What is that application? Sample web torch. This is what we did. And as part of this web project here, we got a HTML file as well. We got a HTML file. Register.html. This is what we did. Okay. Yes. Now, how will you access this web page? If I want to access this web page, which is on the server, what to do? Yes. How will you access that web page, that HTML page? What do people think? To access this web page, you need a browser. Through the browser, we are going to do this, right? Yes. Here, you need to open a browser and specify the URL of the page. URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator. So what is this URL? URL is a string which uniquely identifies a resource on the web. URL is an address of a resource. So URL is an address of the resource, I can say. Yes. So what is the URL of that HTML page now? You see, http://localhost. Localhost means the same machine. Localhost means we are referring to this machine here. In this localhost, we have Tomcat server which is listening on the port 9999. Got Tomcat server which is listening on the port 9999. In here, in this port, on this server, you have a sample web application. What is the project name? Sample web project, right? Yeah, sample web project. And in this project, we have that name, that HTML page, register.html. Yes, we got this register page, HTML page here, register.html. Yes. Okay. So register.html is a resource. So I want to access this resource. Where it? Sorry, this is a resource. So where is this resource? This resource is part of your web project, sample web project. And you see here, the sample web project is hosted on the Tomcat server, which is listening on the port 9999. Okay, it is listening on the port 9999. So see, And this Tomcat server in turn, it is hosted on the same machine, on this machine itself. Okay, yes. And see, this URLs are defined according to the HTTP protocol, that is the standard protocol again. Okay, yes. So now I'll take this URL, this is your URL, and I'll paste it here in the GoToMeeting, sorry, in the web browser. So through the browser itself, we'll access web applications, right? Yeah, I'll press enter. Let's see, you got that page. So have you noticed it? You see, this is not the file path, it is URL. That is what I want you people to understand. We have provided the URL of the resource. So browser now what it does internally, it will place a request for this resource. What the browser does, you see, here, your browser, first of all, it will take the URL, it will establish the connection with the server. Internally it does that, we don't have to do anything in this regard. First, it will connect to the server, okay? Establish connection. And then it constructs a HTTP request and sends a request, okay? It will send a HTTP request here. It places a HTTP request. Server will take that request and it will respond back to the client with that resource. So the client is placing the request here for that resource, HTML page, register HTML page. The server will respond back here. That's it. HTTP response. The server sends HTTP response here. That's it. Yeah. So what we did here, I hope you people got it. Is it clear for you people, all of you? Anyone got any questions in this regard? You understood this, right? So how this application is hosted, you see, now we have an application hosted on the server. You see, under the Tomcat Web Apps folder, we have it here. Okay. Now altogether, we got how many copies of this application here? Yes, we got how many copies of this application, web application? I can say we got two copies, right? Yes. So one is the working copy in the Eclipse ID where we are working on it. You see in the Eclipse ID we have it, and another copy is hosted on the server. Yes, which is deployed on the server. I can say yes. That is the working copy. So sorry, that is a running application on instance of this application. I can say it is running on the server. Yes. Okay. Now you see, if I submit the form, what happens if I type in some data here and then submit the form? What happens? Yes. What happens? In this case, I can say nothing happens. Why? Because There is no component on the server side to handle this request. We don't have any components on the server side to handle this request. Okay, that is what you need to understand here. Yes. So that is where your servlet comes into the picture. So to process this form request, we need a servlet. To handle this form request or to process this forms request, we need a servlet, I can say. Yes. So developing the servlet, working with the servlet, we'll do it in the next session. Okay. So we have another special class, you know that. So it is tomorrow at same time as we did today. Tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. CST. You got it, all of you? 5:30 p.m. CST. Central time, 5:30 p.m. Central time. So tomorrow at same time. So tomorrow I'll show you servlet programming. We'll see how to process this form request on the server side using the servlet and many other things related to this web application development. Yeah. So that's all for today. Thank you all. Bye bye.